I cannot record live videos on my page, so I decided just to bombard everybody with this recording and then to share it to my page. I wanted to talk a little bit about the functional medicine approach because I have so many questions of potential clients asking like, why is the difference? Why you don't take insurance? Well, the insurance model unfortunately only allows usually for 10 to 15 minutes face-to-face visit with the provider. In functional medicine, I need much more information that can be provided within 10 minutes. I usually spend 1 hour during the initial appointment going over the previous labs that the client comes with, and then also reviewing the lifestyle, diet, and also over 150 questions that needs to be answered before I see the client. So the good thing, those questions can be answered online and it's easy. It's just click, 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 maybe a little couple sentences here and there, whatever you want to share with me. But that's one of the differences. The other difference is that I do practice mainstream medicine too, because it's important to know the red flags, when to refer to a specialist, when to consider ruling out cancer or some kind of stones, or what other interventions are needed, or heart disease. If the pathologic changes took a hold of the patient's heart, well, we can do some stuff with functional medicine and supplements, but you still need to see a cardiologist. So the difference is that I have a conventional mainstream training as a family nurse practitioner, so I'm trained to rule out all kinds of things and see the abnormals that need to be addressed with the specialist. And if the specialist says okay, you're fine, I'm more than happy that you don't have any emergencies to deal with or something else to rule out. So from that, I look into the labs, I look into the functional interpretation of lab work, which means you should be somewhere in the middle for most of the markers that I check on the lab work. The good thing about being a nurse practitioner is that if I order the labs, you can get them done at LabCorp as no request. Sorry, forgot to turn off my phone. You can do them at LabCorp or Sonora Quest, and the insurance for the most part pays for those basic labs. Of course, if you're in doubt or your insurance is not that it doesn't reimburse it as well, it's better to call them and find out beforehand. Sometimes I do instruct my patients to call the insurance because some labs could be very specific to the mold illness or to some viral markers that I want to check, especially in autoimmune patients with autoimmune disease. But that said, the initial appointment also includes the order of new lab work, so that you can do at LabCorp as Sonora Quest, and also it can. I usually suggest 1 or 2 functional lab tests if needed. There are 2 options to do those functional lab tests up front and see, especially if you have a lot of symptoms and you've been sick for a long time, or we could do empiric treatment depending on your symptoms and presentation. So and that takes an hour, and believe me, 1 hour is not enough. I spend usually at least 1 to 2 hours charting for every new patient and thinking through the plan of care and sending all the recommendations that I needed. The other thing, every follow-up usually lasts 45 minutes. So unfortunately, I used to take insurance and it just doesn't cover. In Arizona, apparently they have really bad coverage for any type of conventional or functional medicine visit, and the thing is, well, it's not possible to discover the underlying issues within 10-minute face-to-face visit. And I'm not even talking about the lab, the things that I have to do to interpret the lab work later and to order special labs. It all takes time. So how is it different? I know a lot of people think about functional medicine that it's a more natural or naturopathic medicine, right? It's more natural approach to treatment, natural supplements. Well, supplements are made in the lab, and that's something that my colleague Megan McElroy pointed out, and I love that. So we talk about some vitamins and minerals. Yes, those are more natural to your body, especially if you have deficiency. It's definitely a good idea to reestablish that balance in your body. But other things that we use, they could be as potent as pharmaceuticals, and I'm not against pharmaceutical drugs. If I need it, I will prescribe pharmaceutical drugs if they're gonna help you function and live and have the best quality of your life. I'm gonna help you to feel better. So it includes the thyroid hormone. My preference, of course, is pig thyroid, or compounded thyroid hormone with T4, T3. It goes to the LDN, low dose naltrexone, that's pharmaceutical. There are a lot of other pharmaceutical drugs that could be helpful to implement in your plan of care to feel better. Even valacyclovir, the antiviral drug that we use for herpes outbreaks and a lot of other things. There are natural, yeah, the things that are derived from nature, for example, monolaurin, that can work as good as valcyclovir, but of course it should be decided on case-to-case basis. I guess that's, and my take on the functional medicine. So for example, if I break a leg, or I start having a hemorrhage which is bleeding out, and I need an fast help, I'm gonna go to the conventional ER doctor, and he will save my life. But the issue is that a lot of us with chronic diseases or suffering from autoimmune diseases, our labs usually look within normal range, just in somewhere. It's not in the red. So when you go to the ER doctor and it's not in red, or even in primary care doctor, if it's not in red, and you're alive, basically you walk to the clinic, right? So you're alive, you're living. It's a different question how good you are alive, how function, how well you're able to function. That's completely different. Do you have energy to get up? But a lot of times I look at cortisol labs, and they're the cortisol itself is very low in the morning, and I don't need the 4-point cortisol saliva test. Yeah, that's helpful, but it's also $125. There are a lot of tests we could do, and I would love to do all of them if I had unlimited piggy bank in my house to do all of those tests on me, but or my family or my patients. But the thing is, that's the art and skill of the skilled functional medicine practitioner, because with experience we see a lot of things that we can fix or try to fix just with the symptoms. Like, I'll have a lot of patients who ask me, oh, do you do SIBO breast test? Or I did SIBO breast test, but my doctor said that it was negative, so I don't have SIBO. Well, what kind of SIBO test did they do? Did they use glucose or lactulose? How good was the prep? What kind of the underlying symptom did you have? If you had diarrhea, for example, you won't be able probably to show that you were positive for SIBO, because you just go through all that stuff that you ate very fast, and you don't have enough gases in your breast to show that you have hydrogen predominant SIBO or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So for those who are a little bit experienced with the functional medicine approach, it may make sense. But if you're not, if you have symptoms and you have lots of symptoms of possible small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, maybe it's worth trying to treat and do diet modification, for example, and see if that helps. If that helps, maybe that alone could help you to feel better, and no test is needed, especially such low, low, such a test with so many false negatives. So it's just like celiac test. If I test someone's blood and it's negative for celiac, I'm not 100% sure that this person is not having symptoms of celiac disease. So those are little blurbs I wanted to share with you I'd love to hear from you. Have you had any experience from with the functional medicine providers? Did it help you? What kind of tests you have done, and do you think those health tests helped you? Um, anyway, bye. That was Jana.